Hey, what's up, everybody? Can you guys hear me? Hey, what's up, guys? We'll get started in a couple minutes. Hey, what's up, Rudy? How you doing, man? How's everybody doing today? Can you guys hear me all right? Hopefully the music is not too loud. So today we're potentially going to start working on little updates on this guy to get this guy printed hopefully this week and get it ready for Halloween, you know. So I did a few refinements on this, and I'm working on some patterns. So we're going to continue working on the details today, getting all the details all done for something like this. Let me show you guys the reference that I'm thinking of going for, but you know, we'll start adding all these little intricate patterns, so we'll see. Cool, so we'll get started in a minute or so. Just making sure everything's all good. So, what are you guys working on? Are you guys working on anything for Halloween? You guys want to share? You guys can post some links. Yeah, so I was looking back at. Let me load the one we started with, so that you guys can see kind of some of the refinements that I decided to do. So it's not just. This is only just refinements that I started looking at in the last. I don't know, last 20 minutes, just kind of looking at it and figuring out what's some stuff that I like and didn't like. So here's the one we started with last week, or 2 weeks ago actually. Turn up the mask. So you guys can kind of see some of the refinements that I did. I removed a few things. I refined a few other things, like I decided to get rid of these lines. Like, they're cool, but they weren't working for me, because after looking at some of the reference, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of extrusions happening, and I kind of didn't want to go with that. So I decided to kind of get rid of those and just refine like the cheekbones and the eye sockets so that it's a little more clear. So why did I do that, right? Well, because I noticed that if you're lighting this thing from above, the read has to be there, right? Right from the beginning. Like, looking creepy, you have your eyes there. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I'm playing around with some mask ideas, like masking some of the areas that I'm thinking of potentially, just extruding out, like maybe a tiny bit, just a bit, so that when I paint it, it's easy for me to kind of mask and just go over it. And then from there, we're going to do the little more intricate patterns today. But we'll potentially also be working on these little pumpkin things that I worked on. So these were kind of done in VR, quickly sketched. So then, I'll potentially we'll be working on these two, or making a brand new one from scratch like we did last year. But we'll see. We'll see where we get to. But cool. So we'll get started on this now. Some of the other references that I've been kind of looking at are also some of these. I like some of the extrusions that are going on here, cuts, but I feel like some of them are gonna have to kind of just work with a smaller pattern and more positive negative space. But we'll see. So other potentials. Also, another thing that I saw that it was kind of cool were like this type of mask, where there's some extrusions, like a tiny bit of extrusions, and then there's like a pattern that you can trace. So I'm thinking of potentially doing that with this, where like this pattern is extruded a tiny bit, like the stuff in black, just enough to give me the edge, the raised edge, and then from there kind of adding more details on top of that. So I think that's kind of the look that I want. So it's somewhere a mixture between both of those two masks. What do you guys think? Oh, people are doing Sculptober challenge. That's cool. But yeah, I'm thinking this could work for me. Maybe refine a few other things. But let's get started on this. Just getting these guys nice and sharp, getting rid of any imperfections that we don't like. But yeah, if I can print this out in the next week, I think it'll be awesome to kind of have for Halloween. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I hardly ever work with masks. I just do it for fun. So for me, this is a little fun activity to kind of get something into real life. So let's see. So if you want to kind of do this universally, well, there's a couple ways, right? We're going to probably put a layer on here. But first, since we like the way things are, in case we wanted to erase anything, we're going to add a morph target. Store morph target, add a layer. So that way, whatever we do, let's do that real quick. So it's already in the layer, which is good. Let's just just make sure we have nothing else in the layer. So this is kind of a before and after type of situation. Let's see. So let's. Yeah, I like where the poly paint's going. I think we could just probably make this into make this mask into a poly paint. Last time I did that, it kind of didn't work, but it's fine. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I use deformations. You could push all this stuff out, but I noticed that if I just deform it, this is obviously right. So we want to push that out. So let's do 2. See how that looks. Yeah, that's not too terrible. That's it's raised enough, but I might just push it just a little more, maybe 3. Just because when you're printed, it might get soft. So let's just do that. That's cool. It's I think that's working. So now we could probably work on all the little intricate details. So let's store another morph target real quick. Make a layer. So now we can start working on all the little detail. And it's probably going to be painted somewhere. So with that, so like the pattern might be like the darker, like all this stuff that was in here will be darker and all this stuff in here will be lighter, and then all the little detail will be kind of dry brushed a little bit, I think. So kind of gonna go with that. But let's see what do we have in our reference to kind of do the filigree stuff. Because a lot of this stuff is kind of very flowery, and I don't like. I like the flow, but I don't like the flowery part. So I'm kind of gonna try to change that to make it look a little more mechanical. So we'll see. More like this stuff, but we'll see what kind of pattern we come up with that we like. Let's save this real quick just to make sure we have it in case we do crash. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be checking the chat. Hey, what's up, Joseph? Cool, so let's see, where can we get started on this detail? What's this? So one of the things that I like doing is kind of the layer caked effect, which means like there's going to be 3 repeating patterns, like the same pattern repeating 3 times. So a lot of the stuff that I like doing is kind of figuring out like if this is the curve that I want to follow, I want to have 3 of those. And then potentially have those kind of come down like, but we'll see. We're just kind of playing with the design. We'll see if it works or not. I was thinking we might do half of this and half of pumpkins, so we'll see. Some jack-o'-lanterns. Those will be fun too. So I want some of this stuff to be raised or embossed in, so I'm going to play around with that as well. So I feel like maybe the rim of this has to be kind of maybe darker, so that when we push it out or push it in, we we have a nice big border. Guess we could do the borders first. Hopefully the music is not too loud for you guys. Yeah, I like changing between these shaders because it kind of gives me a nice look to see what's going on with this. I think that's what we'll do first. We'll do all the borders first because we can make those in one layer. Yes, we can take these guys off. Because then we can also work out the positive, negative spaces of what the dark parts are going to be. I'm supposed to worry them about all the little details first that don't matter. Or at least don't matter now if we decide to change our minds. Let's see, same thing with the up part. Yeah, the mask can do a lot, but the thing is you have to make sure that you do it in steps, you know? I think that's the main thing. Because if you start doing it, if you start doing everything in one step, it sometimes gets really muddy. And that's one thing you have to just continue to remember. Like some of this stuff I'm going to go and clean up as well. I'm just trying to make the mask right now first. And you see now I'm starting to add variations so that not all the mask feels the same. Like there's parts that are thicker, thinner. But of course, most of the borders could be the same because you wanted to kind of just this where we could go clean this stuff up here, like get it tighter to the edge. Now a lot of this stuff could just be painted on, but I want it when I print it out, I want to be able to just kind of roughly do it, like with dry brushing, so I don't have to worry about spending hours just masking away. Where if it's built into the sculpture, then it makes it easier for me to kind of paint it, at least from my airbrush experience and that type of stuff. Do you guys paint a lot also in real life, or you guys just paint in ZBrush? Yeah, I'm using the Wacom monitor. That's why I keep looking down. If not, I would just be looking straight if I was just using a tablet. But I do prefer a tablet if I had an option between both. I just happen to have a Cintiq, so kind of sticking to that. So let's see. So that's looking pretty good. I think if we extrude that a tiny bit, that could be pretty good, but we're gonna add a little more negative space. So this is where we can start adding like maybe something back here. That's good. Yeah, it's good to know the traditional stuff, because then you know there's a lot of things you can do with that. And if you start mixing both, like the 3D printing and airbrushing and all that, that could be pretty fun. Yeah, I didn't. Let me show you some of my links. Let me find the browser. In case you guys haven't joined or followed me, feel free to follow me with the stuff that I do. I 3D print a lot of stuff. Next project I'm gonna be working on is painting up the mandrake that we did on the stream. Then I'll probably be printing this guy full size, and then printing him big and airbrushing him. So it's all mixed together. I post the link on there so you guys can check it out when you have time. Yeah, I don't usually do hair cards. I usually use like XGen, so I wouldn't be the best person to talk to about that real time stuff. But I'm sure there's somebody on the Pixologic team that does that. So you might want to check some of the other streamers. So we're gonna add some of this stuff in the bottom too. Clean some of these edges up so that they're not so this is where you could start introducing a couple more. You know, blending those edges to like other bigger sections. You know, we connect these two, then we could start tapering these guys off too. And it's more about design, so something to consider. I guess not to be confused is when you're doing stuff for design and you're just designing, it could take forever. You could undo. You could like explore things, right? But sometimes if you're doing stuff for production, the design's already done, so you don't have to be like playing around with the ideas. You just kind of execute. So that's one thing to consider. Is I feel sometimes people get those two confused, that you think you're going to be doing this stuff in production, and you probably won't unless you're the designer. And also that's why it takes a little longer, because you're exploring ideas that sometimes work, sometimes don't. Let me connect these here. This would be kind of cool. So now we're getting more of that balance, positive, negative space. Hey, what's up, Lucas? How you doing, man? Yeah, I have a 3D. I have the Foreign Labs back there, the old Form 2. But I'm getting a Elegoo Saturn soon, so I'll be testing those type of things and comparing, because I feel like now we finally got to a stage where I guess the prices are down and many companies are making these printers, and maybe it's not worth getting a really expensive printer. So I'll be doing kind of pros and cons about some of this stuff. So if you guys are interested, I'll be doing some of that stuff on my YouTube channel. Realistic hair. Yeah, I think if you like, what you're looking for, a tutorial, or you're looking for. Let's see. I feel like that's almost there. We're gonna add a little more negative space. Let me post some more links to my site and a couple other things in case you guys are. And let me find a link to my actual YouTube channel. I still don't have a full name, but soon. Yeah, so let's continue with this. I think we need to add more black. Yeah, that feels much better. Just I don't want all the lines to be super thin, like, so that's part of the whole design part, right? That we're exploring. So we have a repeating pattern to the top, to the, you know, like that whole layer cake effect I was talking about. I wonder if it would be better to make this whole thing black up here. We have more of a yin-yang type of feeling, you know? Yeah, I like that better. I think that works a little nicer. Hey, what's up, Hannibal? Let's see. Yeah, you could do like poly loops and all that stuff. You know, you could separate all this stuff into different pieces and then merge them together, like boolean them together. You could do that too. But it all depends, right? It all depends what you're trying to do, like what a specific project or what is it for, because all of them have different techniques. Like usually a lot of the things that I would do, like if I was going to paint this, I would probably take it to Mari and paint the mask. But you know, we're going to stay now in ZBrush, so it makes it a little bit of a different workflow. Because I don't get to have these in layers. You know, they are in layers, but not like drawing layers, if you know what I mean. So let's do a little cleanup before we extrude and then move on to the next steps. The main thing with this is that the extrusions have to be very, very small. Because if they're too big, it's gonna look starts to look pixelated. It starts to look kind of bad. And also because this design is supposed to be what is it called? It's supposed to feel more like paint or metal etching. You don't want to extrude too much. So. Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. Sylvian, right? Yeah. Let's try that. Let's see, that's I like the way that's looking. So let's try it out. Let's save real quick. Keep saving because I just upgraded to a new OBS and I upgraded to the new 2021.2.1.2. So I'm not sure how stable it is, but we're rolling with it. Should be fine. Cool. So let's extrude that. Let's see if this is the right way. Now we'll reverse it. Usually I try things out, so that's the whole point, right? So let's maybe do an inflation of 2. Or maybe 1. I think it's maybe the other way. Yeah, it's the other way because I want to extrude all these guys here. All right, let's do that. It's -1. Let's go a little harsher and do -2, just because sometimes when you print the stuff, it's not gonna read correctly. And if there's some things you don't like, since this is all on layer, right? Like we want to do some cleanup. The reason we store the morph target is because now we can go ahead and do some of that cleanup wherever there's some undesirable. Turn the back layer. We can turn some of those things back to where they were at before we did any extrusions and kind of blend that stuff in. So we can start keeping some of these other cuts, and then if there's something that's too harsh, we can just kind of get rid of it. Many ways. Yeah, you could do that too. I think if you extract it, yeah, that's what I did last time when I was doing one of the helmets, right? I had a piece that I kind of extracted and then used over and over. But I wanted to try something a little different today. Whether it's gonna work out or not, it's a whole different problem. But you know, or sometimes we have stuff that we kind of like, this stuff that looks cool, but maybe it didn't work out when I extruded the whole thing. You know, like the nose part, like I like the way that turned out, but maybe it wasn't good, you know? And that happens, so you just gotta, so you have your handy morph brush, you could bring back the pieces you like. Paint those back. You know, there's something that's got a little sloppy. Make your brush smaller, go around that edge, clean that up. To get it back to where it was. Like a lot of these edges got a little screwed up, so not a big deal. We see that maybe we have to do this in smaller patterns. Nice thing is that we have a layer we can just turn on and off. Not a big deal. Or if we're feeling brave, we can also just start cutting into the mesh. I think depending on your budget, but to be honest, I say like the new Anycubic, like the $500 one, and the new Elegoo Saturn are probably the best options because they're almost the size of the Form 2, and they're only $500. So it's like you know, it's a win-win situation. I would say probably try that. So much more inexpensive than all the other stuff, you know. So from here, let's see, we can start cutting too if we feel like it. You know, start cutting like pattern. Or we could do a mixture, right? We can do a mixture of pattern and mask. So here we can maybe sharpen this up. Let's get rid of that little kink. Just push this out. So you see, sometimes I try things, they don't work out. Not a big deal. You just move on. The good thing is that you have all this stuff in layers, so you can always just turn it off if something's not working. -2. That works as well. So let's see what that. See, so we could do it this way as well. It just takes a little longer because you don't get to see the whole result at once, but that's fine. Let's see. Yeah, man, the printer's getting cheaper is such a nice thing. It's pretty amazing. Not everybody can you could afford to 3D print, you know. So let's see. So we like that. Let's change the shader to something more pleasing. Let's see, what else do we want to add? Let's look at some more reference. See what can inspire us. So I think a lot of my detail is gonna be. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. A lot of my detail is gonna be in these sections, and then the rest will be maybe just black. So we'll see. We'll try that. So that way, it's all the stuff that's extruded in could get some kind of pattern. Let's come up with some more ideas. And if something gets a little fuzzy, you could just kind of hit it a little bit. And do that. I'm also have my weighted on to 1, so let's go back to kind of regular. Then you can also touch this up by just pushing that out, but let's move on to something less harsh. Just to give it a little, give it a little more edge. Yeah, it's pretty easy, man. The printer stuff it's pretty fun. It just gets a little messy, so you need to make sure you have a little bit of an area to kind of do all the solvents, and some of the stuff smells. So make sure you put it in your window or somewhere where there's nice ventilation, because the resin will stink up your house. So you just gotta, it's toxic, so you have to be careful, but not a big deal. Let's go with the nose. Let's see what we can do with that. Let's go a little higher. Let's go to 28. Keep pressing the button while I'm sculpting, so it's changing my overall pattern. We see we start adding these little hints, and all of a sudden it starts looking more detailed, but you got to work out the big pieces, I think. Yeah, you just have to be careful and always wear gloves. Always be very cautious about all this stuff, because it's not nothing to play around with. So here I'm just kind of, I was pushing in the carving in the design, but I also want it to be, oh, that's a fun one. I love when that one happens, when it just shoots across the screen. Adding a little bit of a highlight to this. And then we're going to blend all the corners together, so that way it feels nice and smooth. But from a distance, that starts to read pretty good. So we're going to do that a little bit everywhere, and then we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, I guess he is kind of breathing out flames, right? We could change that by adding like different patterns, I guess, too. So like adding more of the like those type of things to break it up so it doesn't feel like flames. It feels more, I guess, I want to say, I guess, Art Deco type of stuff. Then we could also start introducing some of these things. So then it doesn't feel so much like flames. It's more like decoration. We also got to be careful that you don't add too much because then it starts to look like noise, you know? So that's one of the important things. But you see now it's starting to look like some kind of Art Deco related stuff. And then you can start adding like other patterns. They kind of help break that up. All of a sudden it starts to feel not so much like flames, right? But yeah, it's a good thing to think about because if you're gonna kind of use that same pattern everywhere, you need to really think about it. So we're gonna add some of that stuff to the eyes. The good thing is that all this stuff is in the layer, right? So let's say you want to tone it down because it becomes too extruded. You could always just do like 0.5. And now it feels more like it was etched in. But you know, you start at 1 and then you go from there. Yeah, it could be like a dragon theme, so it could go any direction, right? Based on kind of what decisions we make right now. But it's good. It's good to get you guys' opinions just to see, you know, what you guys think about this stuff. You know, the different materials also makes it feel, gives it a different feeling. So that's something that I always play around with. I prefer this red one. It's my favorite, but it doesn't have to be this red one. But yeah, so let's continue that and see where it goes. We'll continue that in the eyes. Let's see how that works out. That's why I was like, it's not bright enough. Well, one thing we can do too is clean up some of these kinks that came as part of that mask. Then we'll adjust the bevel as well so that it feels like there's no little kinks. You can also use like the flan tool to kind of get rid of it too. So you can do a combination of both. You know, if it feels inflated and it feels like it lost a little bit, you could just kiss that surface. Then get rid of the bulge because since it's adding bulge on both sides, it kind of looks off. So you want to kind of blend a flat tangent to a round tangent. Yeah, my favorite color is red, so I always try to use red pencils, red everything. But of course, there's not always that that option. But for me, red reads a lot better. But let's continue with that pattern. I guess the thing that keeps bothering me, I should get rid of, is this guy. I keep seeing in there, and I keep seeing this mask that I didn't mask out right. So let's just get rid of it real quick, along with that guy. It's like those things that every time I turn the model, I see it, and it's like annoying. Sorry. There you go. That's much better now. No, it's not distracting me. Cool. Let's continue with that cutting. See, there goes that button again. It's so sensitive today. So I'm thinking of the same pattern that I was kind of doing, so I'm just trying to repeat it, make it a little bigger. Yes, he's no longer cross-eyed, right? It's distracting, even though there's little things like that that happen when you're masking. And most of the time you can ignore, but in this case, I couldn't ignore it. It was bothering me so much. So here I'm just kind of keeping that circular motion going, but I'm also making it shorter and shorter as I go in deeper. Because then I'm probably going to add a little bit of another cut. Or start adding those round patterns on top of it. So what I'm doing now, I'm basically just adding instead of subtracting. Instead of carving in, I'm carving out. So that there's a little raised edge. So that when I paint it, it's like, it just pops, you know? And I switch from side to side. Sometimes some things are easier to do on one side than the other, so that's fine. I think you shouldn't be handicapped by and sometimes you do a stroke that you don't like, so you just undo it. Feels like this music is perfect for this. There it goes again. Well, now we maybe need just a little bit more breakup in there. I've been using it for a while, probably 15 years or so, so, you know. But I use it for many things, for production, for 3D printing, for a whole bunch of different things, so each one has its own plus and minus, you know. Yeah, I've been thinking about making a brush set where like I make some of these things that we could just kind of, if I made these patterns, you could just kind of put them on the brush and just brush them around, so you don't have to draw them every time. But I don't know if you guys are interested in something like that. I could make something like that. It would be cool. Let's see, let's add some more. Maybe move on to this part of the face. Maybe move my lazy mouse a little bit. Let's see. Make it a little smoother. Especially when you're doing big areas, that's when it really matters. else. Yeah, let me know if there's any resources that you guys would like to have that I can help you guys with. I'll go pressing that button again. Oh, definitely don't like that. Not too bad. And now we're getting somewhere. We're starting to get that negative space playing well together. What do you guys think? There we go. I'm just thinking of the major shapes, like what's going to read when I start popping it up, you know, that type of deal. No, I'm just kind of getting inspired by different references, you know, like here's some of the stuff that I'm kind of looking at, but not trying to copy, just getting inspired. I don't like a lot of the feathery look or flowered look, so I'm kind of trying to not do a lot of that, but get inspired by those patterns. Like the flow of the anatomy kind of going with it. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So that's why I'm making these big patterns now to see like how are those working out, like how are they reading, and then we'll cut those in half and that type of stuff. Let's But so far, I'm thinking kind of where it's going. What about you guys? What do you guys think? We're about 40 minutes in or so. So it's not too bad, right? One thing I decided to also get rid of is kind of get rid of those holes for the mouth. I might add some, but I think they need to be very precise, very thin. So let's continue with this pattern up here. Let's see. So if something starts to get a little bit steppy, you can also just smooth it and go back on it again. Just to get rid of a little bit of those steps, you know? Which means we probably just need a more resolution. We're at 8 million. So we could potentially, since we have layers, we'll lose all these layers, but you know what? It's okay. Let's bake them. Get rid of the mask and subdivide one more time, because why not? Yeah, you could use that base mesh, the one that's like in the corner, like, and then just kind of fill it out. Yeah, you could definitely use that. Yeah, well, that's what I did, right? I scanned, in this case, I scanned this guy. Let me hide everything else. I got this guy and I scanned him, and he was a kind of like a fiberglass head. And that's kind of what I'm using as. Usually I use my head, but I wanted to just use this to show you guys a different workflow. So here we just killed our layers, so now that's fine, you know, not a big deal. Let's save layers at this stage in case I ever wanted to go back. We can. But yeah, you could definitely use that if there's a template that you like, and then from there, just use those measurements. Usually when you scan something, if you use an actual scanner, it comes with it's the same scale as a real scale, a human scale, a 1-to-1. But if you do photogrammetry, then you might have to have a reference object in there, like a cube, or that you can measure against. I have my own scanner. I have my own IronScan Pro, so I use that to kind of scan this stuff. And here, even here, let's undo that real quick. And we could also, now that we have this, we can make a layer for this next step if we want to turn it down or up. That's the only thing that I guess I don't like, that you lose your layers, but I should probably subdivide it higher to, what is it, 29 million? But it's never too late. And if it doesn't connect, that's fine, because we're going to add a... So I'm making like these little hooks to kind of break that curve up, you know. But we're going to go back and extrude those out to give it a little bit of an edge. If it's not perfect, it's fine. I'm not worried about that. I think sometimes people get stuck on trying to make things perfect. And it's a good and a bad thing, you know, but sometimes it's more of a bad thing, because then you don't get to try things or keep pushing things further along when you probably can. So I'm also thinking, when I'm making these curves, like, what are the curves doing, you know? Like, they're becoming smaller and bigger, like smaller and smaller and smaller, or bigger and bigger and bigger, and less turning, you know? So that they feel like they're all coming from the same branch, but not the same copy. I don't know. It depends on the scanners, you know. If you use like an Arctic Evo or something like this, like 30 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand. Yeah, it depends on the level of scanner you need. So we're gonna add some breakup to these guys now too. So it's expensive, so you might want to just, you know, not. Oh, thanks, man. You might want to maybe just hire somebody or hire a service to kind of scan your stuff. It's probably the best. So I'm kind of seeing what's flowing, what makes sense, what's the direction of all this stuff. It's which direction it's flowing to, so I can kind of make a decision of how to cut it. You know, or like if like these guys, right? These guys are too parallel. Like, how can I break these guys up by introducing, like, maybe that guy has a double cut, so he feels different. They don't all feel the same. Or this guy needs a little bit of a friend to help him break it up. And that's it, you know, so it doesn't feel just like a line. All that stuff kind of makes sense to you guys, like what I'm doing? Does it help you kind of figure out how you will do your own stuff? What kind of decisions you would be doing or making, I guess? So now that we have them all kind of cut in, now we can go ahead and maybe make another layer to how we're gonna push them out, so that we could adjust it if it feels like too hard. Yeah, mostly via Pixologic, like stream, but I also have my own, so I'm gonna start doing more of my own stuff. So feel free to follow me. But I'm thinking instead of sticking to Twitch, I'm gonna probably do YouTube more because it seems to be more stable. Or at least from when I tried doing some streamings the last couple weekends. All right, so let's inverse that and then play around with the adding some. And that's what we got additional breakup, you know, to some of these guys if we do it reverse. And also add a little bit of splintering so that you have a little bit of an offset. It doesn't just feel like you cut up and down, because it's a little boring. You can also make these guys go further out if they don't have to follow the same pattern. You know, maybe this guy breaks up. I almost like that one, but I think I screwed it up. Yeah, the Twitch thing, I'm not a huge Twitch fan. I don't use it, so like I only use it for try to stream, but I don't use it personally for games, so I totally agree. But this is just one way of doing this stuff, guys. So if you guys find a better way or something that works better, do it. But hopefully you guys see that sometimes you screw up and it still works out. You just have to move on and move to the next step. That's the main thing, right? At least behind everything that I'm trying to kind of show you guys. It's okay to mess up. Yeah, this is not gonna be for VFX. This is gonna be just for Halloween, like for Halloween masks. So it's gonna be tangible. So it's gonna be 3D printed. That's the main purpose behind this. So it's gonna be real. So that's why it has to be you know, I don't have to be as perfect as I would do something for VFX, because I'm just trying to get like the feel of it, of this whole thing. See, this shader kind of shows it off in a different way. So sometimes you just gotta play around with the shaders. So sometimes it looks boring. You're like, you're just making all these lines, right? But if you know kind of what you're doing, like how you're gonna be pushing those lines afterwards, you're setting this whole thing up so that it all works together. I like switching between all these materials just to see where some of this stuff is working, where it's not. see, where else can we add some more detail? I think we need to add a little details now, like little. Like little things like that. I think that might be a good thing, but maybe we'll do that in layers just to make sure, in case we don't like it, we can just get rid of it. Just to get a little breakup on some of these guys. Like little teardrop shapes. It could also be within the other shapes. You also want to make sure you don't overdo it, because it's so easy to start going in a tangent and then start overdoing it. I guess we could take this into Keyshot and see what we can, how that looks. Launch Keyshot real quick. And constantly keep saving. Let's see, render. Shot. I like testing stuff in Keyshot or Arnold just to see what potential, you know, what is it going to look like. Most of the time I like using Substance a lot too, but you know, it depends on the object. This guy is starting to get pretty heavy at 27 million, so that's why it's taking a little bit of time, even with a fast machine. There we go. All right, first let's change the environment. It's really lagging today. So I'm gonna cut those once we have the design more finalized. Like once I refine some more things, I'll have I think I currently have a Boolean object, and I'm also gonna hollow it out, you know. So just kind of see what this is looking like. So this is 285. Let's see, let's maybe play around with some environments, see what those look like. So now we can put a little bit of highlight on some of those little ones. But you see how it's not so extruded? I just wanted to have a little bit of a raised edge. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of not flowers. Anything kind of branches, but not the flower part. Just to give it a little bit more of a different look. But let's see what else. What other environments can we play around with? I like this one too. But you can see that just a little bit of a bevel on these things, but having those primary forms really helps pop this stuff out. Especially if you had just let's see. Like the one that has the light from above, like these guys. I'm thinking about how's it gonna read if you have it outside in the dark and there's only the top edge. Yeah, you could definitely make these all a single image. So you could probably go to Substance Painter, paint all these mats that I'm doing now, and then just bring them back in and extrude it. I just didn't want to have to mix programs because this is a Pixologic stream, so I don't want to do that. But we can definitely, yeah. There's much easier ways to do it. I'm just kind of playing around with the design, so I'm not sure. Like I like some of the stuff that's happening more on the nose, so I think I need to introduce a little bit more of that here, just to make it a little bit more noisy, or not more noisy, more busy, I guess. Let's play a little different environment. But what do you guys think? I think that's what's important to do some renders, because then you can kind of see if this is all working or if the amount of extrusion is correct. I think it's pretty good. It could probably even be toned down so that it doesn't look so carved, but we'll see. We have layers, we can play around with that stuff, so it should be fine. Let's try this one. Why is it so slow? Yeah, it's okay, I think. What do you guys think? Let's see. So let's play around with those. So there's two different types of shaders here. So let's maybe go with the brighter one. Push some of those edges up. Notice how I'm not tracing the whole thing, I'm just tracing one side and maybe a little bit of the inside to get a little raised edge. That's kind of the whole point, right? To catch light and make it look more busy than what it is, even though it's... And those are the little things that matter, right? Once you start doing this stuff, like... So we're going to try adding more things that are connecting to the edge. So we're going to do that with another layer. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? I think keeping it, maybe adding more busyness to that might help. So that's what I'm thinking of. If I start connecting some of these edges and they all like these patterns go all the way to the edge, they might start breaking up that literally the edge. But could be cool. And this just to see what that potentially might help. If it makes the design more more concise, or if it makes it feel like no, like don't touch the edges, then we can. And we're gonna be pushing in and out, so you gotta be careful not to do too much. Oh, there was me pressing that button again. Same thing with the nose. Some of them are harder to break because there's no leading edge, but let's see what we can do. Hey, how's it going, Harris? I'm good, man. Just trying to make some design decisions on this. See how we can improve it. So we'll make some of these guys just kind of bleed over to the end. Let's see what kind of visual interest that actually added, because maybe it did add nothing, maybe it did. I think it did. I think we need to keep those. Now we need to push some of those highlights up, because it makes it feel more organic, less Can you get a moderator? I don't know. Usually, I don't think I usually have moderators, but sure. All right, let's push it. Let's push some of those edges out that we just broke. Nope. Let's turn that back on. They don't have to be on the same side. They could be on opposite sides, so that's not a big deal. I think that helps the organicness of this. What do you guys think so far? It's looking cool or not working for you? Yeah, if you guys are following along doing your own thing, it'll be great to get some screenshots of that too. So if you guys need some feedback or any of that stuff. I recently had a feedback session with another YouTube channel. If you guys want to ever check it out, where we kind of review some portfolios. If you guys ever want your portfolio reviewed, we can probably do another session of that. Because I forgot a few sections up here to push. Let's go back to that red. And the red is my favorite. I had to push back down on some of these guys. See, in some, you can make them more complex if you push in and out on some of the other ones. You know, like some of the ones we already had. You go on the opposite side and add another level of complexity. Oh, thanks, Joseph. Are you making a luchador? That's awesome, man. What kind of luchador? Like any specific one you're referencing, or? See, so now we're starting to get like a up and down. Now it's not just a cut, you know, and that's the main thing that I was trying to get away from. The cuts where it just looks like you just used damn standard and you just cut it, or you just did an extrusion. You want to give it a little bit of depth. But we can always change that with the layers and take it down if it's too much. But I think it helps kind of read in the bigger picture. You gotta keep moving around to make some of this stuff a little more complex. Another thing too, we can connect some of these guys, or at least make them look like they're going to connect to something. Yeah, what do you guys think so far? Is this working out? I'm just making a mask. That's all I'm doing, just for fun. Oh, that's cool, from 2002. That's cool. I think I heard of that cartoon before. So some of you guys were asking about the Boolean object. So let me just save this real quick, because crashes do happen. Yeah, Jules would be interesting, right? So this guy's the one that I had as a cutter. So let me show you guys what I had. So I think this was my base, you know, and then I decided to use it as a cutter. But what we could do, we could just probably just generate one because I changed it quite a bit, which is not a big deal. So what we could do is duplicate this guy, right? Duplicate it, and then from there, since we don't need the details, we could turn them all off. So all we need is just the base. So you could just bake all those, and then maybe go like 2 levels lower. Subdivisions, get rid of the higher subdivisions. And now that we have both of those guys, right? Shift one back. So here I'm just kind of resetting the orientation because it was kind of weird. So if I moved it back, it was going to move back and forward. So what I'm doing is just moving it back a little bit and shrinking it a tiny bit too. This is just a quick thing, right, that I'm doing. You can see the offset there. If I do live booleans, so now we're getting the whole thing. Yeah, I've been having these weird hiccups when I do boolean. Yeah, it's better to not do it live, I guess. It doesn't like it. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to boolean that out. I had a boolean for these guys too. For the mouth parts, I think that's weird. Well, maybe those mouth parts could work. Let's see. Let's maybe move them up. So maybe we could potentially do something like that, where it's nice and simple and clean. That's one way. That could actually work. You guys still hear me? Saw like a hiccup. But yeah, these are my Boolean objects. So I just grabbed some spheres and just kind of cut those guys up. So not the prettiest, but they do their job. Okay, so let's try this in Keyshot. See if that's much better. Let's unpause Keyshot. That's the main thing that you always have to remember. Turn that off. And then send it back over. So you see how it was starting to get kind of plain up here. It wasn't there wasn't a lot of detail. Let's see if we can compare it next to each other. Now there's going to be a lot more breakup there, like the secondary level. So let's see if that helps. I guess it didn't want to send it. So you could just imagine this with a cloak, like it kind of has like up to where the mask is at. It could be kind of cool. I'm thinking of painting it silver, kind of silver chromish, and then painting a lot of this black. So I think that would be nice. I'll probably take it to Substance Painter first to do that quick paint job on my next stream, like on my own personal stream, and then you guys can see if you guys want to. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Joseph. It was just like a hiccup, and I wasn't sure if it disconnected me or not. It's awesome because it keeps losing the material every time. No big deal. So I think it'll be like a combination of this and that black. So then it has a lot of contrast. Yeah, if you guys don't play with Keyshot enough, you guys should. Oh, he's making a mess. I didn't see that. There you go. That's not too bad, right? What do you guys think? You have the positive, negative space. Think we cut some holes or do something. We could probably even just leave the mouth as is. Maybe just refine it a little more. Like I'm thinking. Let me show you guys the reference I'm talking about. Maybe doing something, something like this for the mouth, where maybe I just sculpt it a little more and make it like this. So it's not like a part of the design. It's just like, or part of the filigree. It's more of just the design. So yeah, I probably need to go clean up a little bit of the edges here. It's not too bad. It's just maybe one or two, like this one here in route 2. Clean that up so it doesn't feel dirty. Maybe we'll do a quick mask just to see how that's looking. So let's see. So let's paint everything white. Just paint it a little gray so if we put white highlights, you can actually see them. Let's switch materials. Let's do a fill. So that should be all white now. Now we can paint black. Let's see what black pieces are going to be black. Should all this stuff be black? So if you ever get something becoming so slow, you guys can just turn down the resolution a little bit, like one less level, and then that should make it a little nicer. I'm just doing a quick paint job. Just to see what potential might look like. What are the contrast levels? Hey Saeed. Thanks for joining, man. Sure. What's your question, man? See if I can help you. So let's say it was something like that, right? So let's change it to something like that. Let's go to, let's see, masking, fixing valleys, invert that, right? Now we can make it a little lighter. We're just trying to fake. Fake some highlights on this. Make this even darker. See. Philip Ferro has a really nice books. I would recommend those. He kind of breaks down the sculpture. He does it's clay, but it all kind of relates back to ZBrush, how you will block something out. I would say give that a try. I'll try to find some links for his books, but I have some of his books and I highly recommend those. Let's see. Oh, that kind of looks kind of cool as well, huh? So we could potentially do something like that as well. So sometimes you bump into some things like this that are, you know, that are pretty cool. Yeah, so kind of looks like a Mexican wrestler mask, right? Like a little bit. Oh, I'm kind of digging that. But we got some more highlights. That's the whole point of this. Oh, it's because I turned the colorize off. That's why. I was like, oh, it looks really cool. Just wanted to do a little airbrushing on. See if we can take this into Keyshot if it respects all my poly paint. I don't remember if it does or not, but it's been a while. So. Yeah, like Chris Costa is really good too. I would highly recommend his courses as well. So check those out. Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of a death mask inspired mask, so it's in there. If it's in the realm, that's good. At least it's kind of feels that way, right? Let's see. While this is baking or doing whatever it's doing, let's see if you guys have any questions. There we go, flip for all. So this is the guy I'm talking about. So he has some really nice work, really good stuff to learn. He does everything, you know, male, female, kids, everything. So I would recommend his books. They're a little pricey, but they're totally worth it. Especially like there's one on the face, one on the body. There's a couple different books. So I think even the cloth ones, all of them are really, really nice. I would highly recommend those. So check those out when you have some time. What happened? Crash. That's fine. We'll just launch it again. It's all kinds of screwed up. Look at that. That's fine. Let's try a different material. Let's just close it and relaunch it because it's completely broken. Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, anything that can help you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. It's that poly paint. Yeah, that was it. Doesn't like it for some reason. It's all right. We don't need it, right? So it's the kind of performance I expected, like a little more interactive than earlier. I don't know what was going on earlier. It's kind of choking, but let's try it. Let's try playing with a couple different metals, see what that looks like. Very interesting material. Just kind of broke. See, materials make the biggest difference, guys. It's always good to play around with this stuff. Oh yeah, no problem, man. That's why I'm here, to help you guys any way I can. I really like these contrasty ones. These are pretty good. Yeah. Oh, this is probably one of my favorite ones. Makes it so much easier to see forms because you're able to see. You have like two lights. Should I like the one with the black bottom? What is that? This one here. So you get the. It makes a big difference, right? Having the black bottom. Yeah, I don't like that line. Gotta get rid of that line. Try to smooth some of these guys out, but that's why it's good to see this stuff here, because sometimes you see it at an angle that that you don't see it regularly. And a lot of these guys could also have a taper. That's one thing to remember. But sometimes, let's go back to that red. Some of these guys could just fade out as well, not just end. This is the part I was talking about. So let's see, we can use our morph brush too. I saved a morph brush in this one. Okay, so we could save our morph brush, our morph target now. Not a big deal. Turn this back on. And then just clean this up because this one became a little bit too noisy. So see, it's just that easy. And then there was the one on the brow. Let's see. Let's see here. You can just kind of clean some of those things up that you see. Well, it really depends, right? What type of character, what kind of direction you're trying to do. For me, I'm trying to conceive like I'm looking at this as an evil character and something that can read evil from a distance. And for me, like if I saw this from a distance, it's kind of evil looking, right? There's some elements of mystery and not the unknown, and not having a mouth, I think, makes it even more creepy. Because then you don't know if it's human, and I think that's one of those things that's, you know, that kind of sets you apart. That you kind of see it, and you're like, I'm not sure what's underneath there. But that's, you know, you also have to explore, right? You have to explore different directions. Like, do you want it to be more the Harry Potter world, the fantasy world, and the futuristic steampunk world? Like all those things you have to make decisions about. For me, this is more primitive, like somebody did this by hand. And that's kind of the overall feeling I wanted to get. But also, if you look at it without the detail, does it feel menacing? Because the detail, it enhances that stuff, but if it doesn't feel menacing from the beginning, then you're just going to add detail to something that's not going to work. Does that kind of make sense? What kind of hardware they I have? Like 256 of RAM, GeForce card or RTX card. Yeah, like wax melting, like it's crying. That could be creepy as hell too. So there's a lot of things that could make it creepy, right? Like also if you add some design elements from, you know, you start adding this type of stuff, or maybe a couple layers to kind of make it. But I wanted to just keep it real simple, just the mask. So I think if we start looking at some of these things, like this looks pretty evil too, you know. But this starts to become something bigger, and I wanted to. This Halloween, keep it kind of simple, you know. Yeah, sure, you could add teeth and make it look like more like a skull. That would also make it just automatically feel creepy. But skulls, everybody's doing them, so I wanted to not go directly to a skull, because if not, then I have to cut the nose, which not a big deal. We could cut the nose out. Maybe we could do some design experiments with the last 10 minutes we have. We kind of duplicated this one. Right, turn the other one off, and then maybe we could play around with. Let's see. Let's go to a lower resolution. So it all depends on the feeling you want to get, you know. So sometimes, and sometimes you just play with versions, and then you find the direction you kind of want to go in, you know. You know, all of a sudden it feels very different, right? Just from doing that. Yeah, now it doesn't have a nose, so it looks like Voldemort, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I could do more beginner stuff if you guys want me to. It all depends what you guys would like to see. So I'm open to either one. You know, if you guys want to see more beginner stuff, that's fine. We can also do that. But something like this could change the difference between the mass, you know, like let's see, experience. Even just changing one aspect of it, right? Oh, thanks. Changing one simple aspect as simple as this, all of a sudden the mass feels very different. You know, we start cutting holes. But yeah, something to consider, you know, play around with. There's versions is not a big deal. You have the model, why not make another version of it, you know? They wanted to tweak this further more. Could simply do that by just doing this type of stuff. Make it look more angry. Push the brow more. You know. Change the teeth or change this to be more. Let's switch off. Set a little more resolution. See, all of a sudden it goes from one thing to being another thing. Yeah, I do. I do, but I tend to work with perspective off a lot more. And then I always check it later. But you see how that changes the overall aspect of this whole thing. So now you go from having both of these guys. Let's turn both of them on and do the... I think it's something that people don't use as much as they probably should. I really like... So you can go from, you know, simple tweaks, and all of a sudden it becomes more menacing in a different way, you know, in a more literal way. How long does it take? Usually it depends, man, how much time you're putting in, you know? How much time are you putting in daily to all this stuff in ZBrush? The more you put in, the faster you're gonna get at it and be good at it. So I would suggest every day do a little bit, or do as much as you can. Yeah. So this thing is really cool, right? So it uses the two subtools that you have. So on transform, there's a split screen. So there's different ways to splitting the screen, right? So that's 0 is the basic one, the one everybody has. If we do 1, it splits it left, up and bottom, or I guess left and right, but it centers them. So see, there you go. Or if you go 2, it's splitting up and down. 3, it's like it flips one to the other. Like either the first one's gonna be on the left or the right. Same thing with the fourth one. It's just up and down. But it's a pretty cool thing. I like using this when checking things with scans, because then you could kind of see, you're not tracing the scan, but you're using it as kind of inspiration from the same angles. Like you could look up at it or a quarter and see like, oh, there should be more or less this or that, you know? Yeah, the skull version feels different, right? Like they're both death masks, but it just kind of depends which direction you want to go. But I don't know, just a different way of looking at things, you know? Let's see, let's do it without key shot. I guess it doesn't like that. It doesn't like having two of those things because it's putting the stuff from the skull onto this guy. Interesting. Never tried that, so it's good to know that it does break at some point. You know, but it depends what the overall look and direction you want to go. It's all good, man. It's recorded, so it's all, you know. No, it was all hand sculpted. There was no alphas used. Yeah, ZRep is great too, so yeah. But awesome, guys. Thanks for joining. It was fun, you know. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff, had some fun. Got to see this and got to see the making of it, and then we'll hopefully next week or in 2 weeks we'll have it ready for print. We'll have it printed and ready, and hopefully painted as well. Maybe I'll stream the painting as well if you guys would like that. So just feel free to follow me on some of the links that I provided. If not, let me just provide those real quick. Awesome. Well, that's great. If it helped you guys, that's awesome. Let me provide you guys with my YouTube channel, since that's where I'm going to be streaming. Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime you guys have questions, feel free to join me. But yeah, that's where we ended up at. It was fun. Cool, guys. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining. Yeah, keep on ZBrushing. See ya.